In the summer of 1975, Queen left London for Rockfield Studios in Monmouth, South Wales. 30 years later, they're back. It's the first time they've visited since they recorded Bohemian Rhapsody.
You know, I think there was a lot of stress. We were very worried about the management situation. We're away from home, we're away from our kids and our families, you know, even though we had young children. It's not ideal. We just signed up with John Reid, who was Elton's manager, and John had said, OK, boys, I'll take care of the business, you just make the best album you've ever made. So there was that feeling. It was like, we have to go in here and kill.
I actually remember driving here, so thinking, I think I'm going the right way, and playing Sheer Heart Attack, thinking, oh, that was the last one we did. Oh, God, that's good, isn't it? And it's going to be hard to make a better one than that. Hi, right.
Welcome back to Rockfield after all these years.
Thank you.
You're like a walk down memory lane for you both.
This is where the seeds for Bohemian Rhapsody were sown. Queen spent 2 weeks here recording backing tracks for what was to become the most expensive record ever made, A Night at the Opera. It's a poignant trip for Queen. This is where their journey from mediocre domestic success to international stardom really began.
Yes, this does actually trigger some memories for me, I've got to say.
It's a bit plush. I think in our day, I remember there was no acoustic treatment.
This is Bohemian Rhapsody backing track for me. I can distinctly remember being here and seeing you guys going through it. Our backing tracks were always either bass, guitar and drums, or bass, piano and drums.
Yeah.
And this one would be Roger, Freddie and John in there, and they're putting down the backing track, and there's lots of spaces in it for the operatic bits.
Lots of gaps and Freddie conducting.
Yeah. Dum, 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 dum.
Shall we have a look in the studio?
Yeah.
Of Fred's thing.
No, that's nice, that's nice. I tell you, it's slower on there.
He just said, look, I've got this very strange thing. You're going to have to be very patient, you know, when we do it, because there'll be a lot of gaps and stuff. But, you know, as soon as really we'd mapped it out, we all sort of understood what was happening, but it was a bit confusing at first, you know. Sort of coming back a bit, yeah. I think the piano was about there.
I think it was.
A bit like that.
Yeah, more like that than like that. And you were over there, but there was no partition for the drums.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just all in one room.
Yeah. And that was the drum kit.
Yeah, 9 AC30s, of course, but I don't think I would have had the 9 in here. I think
We were still saving up for the one, weren't we?
yeah, I think most likely I would have had 3.
Remember the first time I heard the melody, the main sort of melody. I loved the melody. It was great melody.
I mean, a lot of our stuff was done, written in the studio, of course, but this is an exception. Really, as Roger says, it was all in Freddie's mind before we started.
Actually, Freddie was a great person to be in a band with, really, because one, he was such a great rhythmic piano player, and it sort of made the backing tracks very easy to do. We all sort of knitted together, and they sort of swung well.
His sort of bony fingers would whack it out, and the backing tracks, if you listen to them now, are immaculate. You know, Freddie and Roger and John are just absolutely together. It's totally live, it's totally real. There's a feel there. As soon as you hit an E-flat chord on here, you think of Freddie. I do, anyway. To the living Roy, this is Freddie, I think. And I think this is me. We're coming to my luxurious apartment. It wasn't just like coming in to make Bohemian Rhapsody, it was like we had to make the album which was gonna, I guess, save us.
But I'd realised Brian's room was this much bigger than mine at the time.
There would have been hell to pay, yes. This was bigger than Roger's room. Yeah.
It was a job of work. And I remember we just sort of utilised the various rooms about what's basically an old farmyard, you know. It's definitely not on a par with Brian's. One of the key memories I have is we were all sitting up one Saturday night with nothing better to do than watch A Night at the Opera by the Marx Brothers. We were big Marx Brothers fans.
Oh, I think it's a nicer
Relatively
room.
opulent. His was kitchen. It's got a door and everything on his. We'd been sort of thinking of things to call the album, etc., etc. And then suddenly there it was there right in front of us, A Night at the Opera.
In a rather sad state, this is the desk, actually, Bohemian Rhapsody, and the rest of A Night at the Opera was recorded on, missing its guts, some of which are still in use in the studio. Still enjoy hearing A Night at the Opera as an album all the way through, because that's the way it was designed. And Bohemian Rhapsody is the jewel in that crown, if you like. Before the darkness were even born. Give us a kiss.
4 hours into their visit to Rockfield, and Brian and Roger can't resist striking up in the studio.
Yeah, so without the bass, yeah.